You know, Reamer, someday I'm gonna be a big sports star.
You know, Reamer, someday I'm gonna own a big sports bar. No, it's not like horse. It's baseball rules. I can do whatever I want to make you miss your shot.
You've been psyched! Out! And
Steve Perry. Here, sister's going out with Sweet.
That life was suctioned out of Marlon Brando's ass.
Because you're a piece of shit.
I am not a piece of shit.
Well, yeah, but you're a little bitch. We are. We gotta get jobs. Then we get the khakis. Then we get the chicks. Dude. Well, I guess you've got a point there.
Good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of the WayBack Movies Podcast, a show where we review the best and not so best of 80s and 90s cinema, because really, fuck the 2000s. My name is Steve, and with me on this crazy journey,
Justin.
Doctor.
And
we're back with probably one of the most well-known, maybe, culty movies of the list.
Well, out of the ones we've done, it's easily the most well-known.
I think so.
Mainly off the backs of other properties.
Certainly. Which we'll definitely get into in it. But we are this week talking about BASEketball. A unlikely Trey Parker and Matt Stone vehicle. And I say unlikely because of what will end up happening, where I'll get to how this movie got made, but yeah, it was
somewhat topical. I mean, baseball's going on and basketball just ended. So.
Yeah, I think it's a nice thing. And BASEketball is a real sport. It does exist. I'll get to that in a minute, but
I did not know that.
It does.
Does it actually? I mean, I'm not surprised because I'm like, once something like this gets made into a movie, people are going to think, that's great, what are the rules? And then,
well, ironically, it was kind of a real sport before the movie.
Oh, yeah?
It's all in here.
Okay.
Don't worry, I got it all planned.
Because I was just thinking, like, this would make for a fun, like, you with your friends hanging out fucking having beers, playing a different version of basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta tell you, I would join a basketball league.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, it's a sport I can play, and that's the whole point of it, is anyone can play it. They say in the movie, like fat guys on their couch can compete on the same level with guys who are all juiced up on steroids. Because it doesn't require a body, it requires the ability to shoot a basket, Yeah. So that was the idea.
Hey, if you want to be technical, fat guys could play golf. John Daly's proven that true.
This is true.
I'm pretty sure the PBA, what is it? The
what?
The Bowling Association, is it
the
PBA?
Yeah. I don't know if it's PBA, but well, actually it would fit because it's so close to PBR. It's like shit.
I'm just saying, most of those guys, darts.
Yeah, that's true.
Darts,
but again,
literally
I don't,
fat guys.
Personally, I don't consider them sports. If you have time to drink a beer whilst playing the game, I don't consider it a sport.
But this isn't a sport?
No, it's
right.
Not a sport.
So
it's a game.
It's a game.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But again, this is why I always have my big fight with baseball. I'm like, you have time where you could drink a beer in between times of playing.
And I'm pretty sure
I question it being a sport.
Back in the day.
Exactly. So I question its ability to be a sport if you have time to drink beer. That's my own hot take on baseball and other sports like that. I don't want anyone giving me shit about it.
Well, technically, if you're a goalie on a really good soccer team, you can have time to have a beer.
Yeah, but they're not the entire sport. You know what I mean? Like, you have time between the amounts of time it takes between, like, say you're everybody in the outfield of a baseball team, right? You have time to drink a beer.
Yeah.
Because it takes so long for the asshole to show
I've
up
seen guys
with the
check
bat.
their phone.
Exactly. Which is fucked up.
That blew my mind. I'm like,
Yeah.
the guy went to his back pocket. I'm like, what's he going for? Pulls out his phone. I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
You're playing a sport at a professional level. You should not be pulling out your phone. And this is my whole point. Right?
Millennials.
I guess so. The millennials have taken over everything, even our sports. Games. But enough of me bashing baseball. I figure we should probably just go back in time to jump right in. We just went on a tangent. To July 31st, 1998 for BASEketball. Okay, so here we are. I actually, in fact, did pay money to see this in a theater. It's one of the few movies on our that I think we've covered so far that I've actually gone to see.
Well, we're entering the border of our parameters here.
Yeah.
So the further you get into the 90s, the older we're getting. So, you know...
Well, it's not just that.
So we'll be seeing some of these late 90s movies in the theater.
True, but it's not just that. It's also the fact that, like, you know, we don't tend to pick movies that, A, I like, and B, that I would go see anyway.
This is our 38th episode. I guarantee you, if we did the math, you like at least more than half.
Maybe.
We'd have to look it up. But I don't know.
Maybe.
You picked half of these movies.
True. But
so
I can honestly...
by sheer definition, you should like half.
Like, for instance, when we saw it, like, does it count if I paid to see it after its initial run? I.e., several of the Nightmare...
a re-release?
Yeah, several of the Nightmare flicks I've seen
saw
in
it theater.
Yeah, several of the Nightmare movies I've seen in theater when they show them, so I guess that kind of counts.
Yeah.
But yeah,
just because it wasn't its initial run doesn't mean you did not.
Well, then I'll adjust by saying in its initial run, because I did see this movie in theaters because I was a huge South Park fan, and when I saw these guys were involved, I'm like, fuck, yes, I need to see this. And I eventually did. And that same day, I think I went to a Raptors game, too, which is topical.
Yeah.
You know. So BASEketball, July 31st, 1998, directed by David Zucker, written by David Zucker, Robert Locash, Jeff Wright, and Louis Friedman. We'll get to the South Park guys in a minute. Mm-hmm. Produced by David Zucker, Robert Locash, and Gil Netter. Produced and distributed by Universal Pictures. A box office of $7 million against a budget of $23 million.
To be fair, South Park was big, but it wasn't where it
is
now.
Yeah, although I don't think this movie, of all things, was gonna get it, because...
Well, because the funny thing is, a year after this?
Yeah.
South Park movie comes out,
and makes all of the money in the world. So, I don't think it was the South Park thing. I think it was that people didn't understand what the hell it was. Right. And it didn't have the South Park guys' names as writers. Because, in theory, they weren't. But I'll get to that in a minute. Right. So the cast. Trey Parker as Joe Coop, Airman Cooper. Matt Stone as... why did I not... Shit, I didn't write his full name. Doug Sir Swish Reamer. Thank God I remembered that. Yeah. That was literally me stalling because I didn't write Doug. Deanne Bahar as Kenny Squeak, Little Bitch, Scolari. Yasmin Bleeth as Jenna Reed. Jenny McCarthy as Yvette Denslow. Ernest Borgnine.
Who I don't know how they got Ernest Borgnine.
Well, we'll get to him in a minute, but as Ted Denslow. And Robert fucking Vaughn.
Yeah.
as Baxter Kane.
You know what? Maybe I can get Ernest Borgnine because he's in a scene.
He is. And he's in a handful of scenes.
Nothing crazy. He's in the movie.
Robert Vaughn is the villain.
He's the
villain. Yeah. So that's messed up. Although it might be in the same realm as, like, especially near the end of his life, what's his name? Fuck. His name is literally not in my brain right now.
Name a movie.
Blue Velvet.
Dennis Hopper?
Dennis Hopper, there you go.
Was Dennis Hopper late in life?
When Dennis Hopper late in life, you could get him to do anything.
Well, I don't know if I'm just saying, was that late in life for him? Because that was he just died a few years ago.
No, actually, it's a lot longer than you think. I think it's actually more than a decade at this point, which is disturbing. Yeah,
but either way,
but yeah, like I mean, well, I don't know if you're right. It might not be late in life because he did do Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
But that was his.
Plus, he's a weird dude.
Yeah,
so he's gonna make a David Lynch movie.
That's true.
I'm pretty sure David Lynch had him in his little black book of like numbers he can call for any movie.
Yeah, but I mean, Robert Vaughn, probably the same thing. Probably just could get him to do anything.
Well, I don't know.
Let's see what this is.
I don't know if you can get Robert Vaughn to say the line, "Baby wants to fuck." But
that's true.
But yeah, I'm sure you can get him on board for certain things.
But I mean, it also could be the David Zucker of it all. David Zucker was
right?
like the king of parody. So, I mean, for good reason, right? So, and we'll get to the rest of his stuff later. Trevor Einhorn as Joey Thomas, Francis McCarthy as Dr. Kaiser, Bob Costas as himself, Al Michaels as himself, and the great Robert Stack as himself.
The latter three names were amazing in this film.
They were. And there's a story about at least one of them. Anyway, so the production of this movie, as you can imagine, not too much, but I did manage to find as much as humanly possible on it. Movie is based on a real-life game that director David Zucker created with his friends in 1982 because they were bored with regular sports. It was literally played in driveways of his home. Zucker initially developed BASEketball as a TV game show modeled after MTV's then popular Rock and Jock Sports, a pilot that was shot with 2 competing teams of contestants, actors and former sports stars. Chris Rock was the host.
Oh, Jesus.
I would like to have seen that.
Yeah.
Zucker, who had a developmental deal with Universal Studios, was working on a movie adaptation of the life of Davy Crockett, but the project fell through.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Desperate to keep his contract, Zucker pitched a low-budget comedy. Low? Not so much. Idea based on his made-up game. It got the green light. 23 in 1998 was a lot of money, dude.
Not.
For a comedy. Like, comedies were costing 8 to 10.
Yeah.
The one outlier was Ghostbusters, which cost like 23 in 1984. Like, that was like, oh my god, you're spending this much on a comedy, and it worked.
Well, the Jim Carrey movies cost a lot because he...
Yeah, but he was half the budget.
Yeah, so that's what I mean, right?
Like, you look at it like a Jim Carrey movie from post Batman Forever, the budget is always like $30 million. 20 of that went to Jim. The rest is the fucking movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Chris Farley was originally offered the role of Joe Cooper. He may have passed on it. It's not clear, however, he passed away in December of 1997.
I don't think that would have worked.
No, although it was a very different script at that time.
Right.
What's it called? Matt and Trey got the gig because David Zucker reached out to them to help with working on the script. And while sitting in the room pitching ideas, they were offered the roles.
He's just sitting like, do you guys just want to be in it?
Yeah, I think it was literally that, because they then rewrote the script to reflect their sensibilities better.
Right.
As well as adding Doug Reamer for Stone to play, and changing the script drastically to be more about friendship, because it was, again, just a guy's sort of rise and his dealing with fame, because he was just a regular dude, and now he's famous as a sports star. They changed it around to be like a friendship story.
So would it have been basketball was already a sport, and this guy was just rising
I
in
don't
it?
know. I don't know. That, unfortunately, I couldn't find that script. I would have liked to have read it, but yeah, it doesn't say, like, he may still have invented it. It might have been like his friend might have been a smaller part, maybe.
Right.
The role of Kenny Squeak Scolari for Dion Bahar was created as well. Director David Zucker had no intention of adding a third character, but Trey and Matt convinced him to create the part. Because he's like their good luck charm. He's in everything they do. Before BASEketball, the guys pitched David Zucker a TV show, a musical buddy comedy about the biblical Exodus called Aaron and Moses. I would watch the shit out of that like you fucking read about. Just saying. This is hilarious. Trey Parker and Matt Stone agreed to do this film under the assumption that by the time filming began, South Park would have already been canceled. How's that going for you guys? 25 years later?
And hit musical.
Yeah. When they got the job, it hadn't aired yet. It wasn't canceled, and having been committed to both projects, had to attend principal photography for this project during the day and produce South Park during the night, leaving very little time for any
Living.
sleep. Yes. And this was back before everyone saw that documentary where they create it in a week.
6 days to...
They don't do that.
Or whatever?
They didn't do that back then.
No.
Back then, it was still hand done. It was still cardboard cutouts.
Even if it was, that's still hectic to, like...
Yeah, even if you had to do that...
6 days to do this, and also we're spending time on a movie set.
Yeah, but I don't think... But this, as it stands now, they have enough clout where they could be like, all right, well, we'll push South Park back for fucking a couple months while we do this movie. Now, they could do that now. They couldn't do that then.
Right.
Even if it was a 6-day thing, they probably couldn't have. Also, during filming, there was a special production van that was on the set, complete with an Avid editing system. When not filming, they'd rush back to their trailer and work on the show. Once filming began, the two actors continued to make small suggestions, but were a bit reluctant to overstep their bounds. That didn't last long, however, as Zucker got them as involved as possible, pushing the comedy in new directions, with Zucker stating, "Matt and Trey just think funny. They'd say, I have an idea, and then I'll